and welcome back to Feel Good with Helper. I'm Anshita, a chai enthusiast, big talker when I care, and someone who believes that honest conversations can heal more than we realize.
And I am Vasha, a proud playlist curator, occasional overthinker, and a firm believer that vulnerability is not weakness, but a kind of quiet strength.
And today we are talking about something that touches so many lives in ways that often go unseen, which is mental health in South Asian communities across Canada.
Yeah. And this one is actually close to home for a lot of us. We are going to talk about what research says, but also about the real life experiences that shape how South Asians think about and approach mental well being.
Yeah, because it is not just about statistics or numbers. It is about actual families, traditions, faith, and the feeling of being caught between two cultures, one that raised you and one that you are literally growing into.
And here's what we know. More than 2.6 million people in Canada identify as South Asian. That is about 7% of the country's population. Studies show that South Asian Canadians report high levels of anxiety and mood concerns, yet they are less likely to access professional mental health support compared to other groups.
Yeah, and that gap is not because people do not value mental health. It is because of the barriers, I think, that stand in the way. Some are cultural, like stigma or fear of being judged. Some are more structural, like long wait times, not being able to find someone who understands your cultural background. Like a lot of the times I've heard from my friends who are from the South Asian community saying that they won't understand our problems. So there's definitely like a gap between when someone who actually has decided to find therapy and when they are trying to find the right therapist. A lot of the time they say brown people problems are a bit different than the Canadian problems.
Exactly. And sometimes they always when they seek out for mental health support, they want someone of their same that shared their same kind of ethnic background because they feel like they can relate to each other, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And for some, even recognizing something as a mental health issue can be complicated. Feelings of sadness or worry might be explained as stress, spiritual imbalance, or fate rather than something that deserves care and attention.
Yeah, and then there are family expectations as well. The idea that you have to stay strong, that sharing your feelings might bring shame or worry to your family. Many young people grow up believing that emotions are something to control, not express. So there's a lot of that barrier there as well.
No, of course. And I think during the pandemic, it became even heavier for a lot of people. South Asian communities reported worse self-rated mental health compared to other visible minorities. There's a lot of financial insecurity, social isolation, and discrimination, which all played a big part.
Yeah, and culture shapes how we think about wellness. In many South Asian families, mental health is not always discussed openly, but that does not mean people do not care. It often just means that they have not had the language or space to talk about it safely. So there's still a lot of stigma because of that.
Exactly. And that is why culturally adapted therapy can make such a big difference. There was a Canadian study that modified cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, for South Asian clients by including values like family, community, and faith. And the results showed that people had better outcomes and they felt more understood.
Yeah, it makes sense. It is hard to open up when you feel like you have to explain your culture before you can even talk about what is hurting you. When a therapist or counselor understands that family and faith can be both protective and stressful sometimes, it changes everything. Then because at least you don't have to over explain anything and just talk about your feelings and yeah.
Yes, of course. And there's always there's that constant balancing act of especially for South Asian youth. You're raised with your parents' traditions, but you're also going to school and you're shaped by the Canadian environment, right, around you, especially your peers and your friends. And that tug of war between cultures can cause a lot of that emotional strain. I know it did for me, for sure, growing up.
Yeah. For young women, that might look like pressure around marriage, modesty, or traditional gender roles, right? For young men, it could be the expectation to succeed and to always appear strong, even when you're struggling. Like, I know one of my guy friends, he wanted to take a break from his career, but he just felt it was so hard for him to explain that to his family that he wants to take a break because sometimes in our culture, it's portrayed that men should always be strong, and they should always, like, be successful in their career, and should be sorted financially. So yeah.
Yeah, like, and that expectation to have, like, those certain female roles and the certain, like, male roles, and, like, trying to, like, be confined into that, it's so stressful. And I know for some Muslim and Sikh youth, there is, like, that added layer of balancing faith, identity, and belonging in, like, a multicultural space. And it is a lot to carry for someone, especially when they're carrying it very quietly to themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about what keeps people from reaching out for help. Like, stigma and shame are still the biggest ones. Some fear what others might say or how their family will react. There is a worry that talking about mental health could affect family reputation or marriage prospects.
And there are also that practical barriers. So there are, like, not enough therapists who speak South Asian languages or who understand those cultural norms. And recently, there's a lot of long wait times, high costs, and people don't have insurance. So it makes it much more harder for them too.
Yeah, and sometimes families do not recognize when someone needs help. They might say, you need to stay busy. Those responses often come from love, but they can make the person struggling feel unseen, in my opinion.
No, of course. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it where people say, like, you're fine, you'll get better with age, or you'll get fine, you'll get better with time. And it's sad to see that when people say that, right? But there are bridges too. Community-led organizations like the SOCH Mental Health and the South Asian Council for Social Services are creating real spaces for people to talk and learn about mental health. And many of these programs are run by South Asians for South Asians, which is really wonderful. And that shared experience really makes it very impactful, and it matters a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel so proud whenever I see these organizations. Definitely, the change is slow, but at least there are organizations and advocates who are voicing this. I think virtual therapy has also been huge, especially for young people. It allows privacy and flexibility. You can join a session from your own room, away from judgment, and that helps a lot of people take that very first step towards healing.
No, of course. And I've seen people do over the phone as well. And I feel like it's just very convenient. And it's also like when they don't feel like going in person it's too much for them, having that virtual option is very much so like the first baby step for them. And I think it makes it very accessible. So I love that option. And moreover, like, what gives me hope is how many young people are starting to speak up now. So, like, on social media, in schools and community events, they're normalizing conversations that used to be such, like, considered taboo now. And it makes me feel so full and so happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time someone shares their story, it opens a door for someone else to share theirs. Like when a student tells their friend, I have anxiety and I got help, it breaks down stigma more than any campaign ever could.
hmm Of course. And I feel like when you talk about that, you share that vulnerability with each other, and that makes you guys become any, like, even closer. I know it did for me and my friend. We would talk about it all the time, how we're feeling, how we're stressed, and it gave us like a really good bonding moment. And now we feel like we're
Sure.
closer than ever. And sometimes it starts even smaller, like just asking someone, hey, how are you? How are you? Like, really, like, how are you feeling? Or sharing that you have been through hard days too. It can be the simplest moments that create that biggest change for you guys.
Yeah, I love that. Like asking those open-ended questions and just like being vulnerable. I feel like in previous days vulnerability used to be seen as a weakness, but I feel like that is one of the strongest things you can ever do, is to be vulnerable. And yeah, I totally agree with everything you said there. And I think healing starts with honesty. It is okay to say you are tired. It is okay to admit you need help. And getting support does not mean you're weak. It just means you care about your well-being enough to take action, and you have that level of self-awareness that you need to take action for the
No,
betterment
of
of
course.
yourself. Yeah.
Of course, and I agree. And so the question, like, that I have now, or that will come up, would be, so where do we go from here? Well, how do we make mental health support more accessible and relatable for South Asian communities?
Yeah, good point. I think we start by making space for conversations in the places people already trust. So, like community centers, temples, mosques, and schools. We offer information in different South Asian languages. We can train more professionals to understand cultural nuances. I think that would be a very good point to start.
I agree. And as individuals, we keep learning. Ask questions, we listen to people's stories, we challenge that stigma that we hear. And when we hear it, and the more we talk about mental health, the more we remind others that it is okay and is a part of being human.
100%. We can also celebrate the positive side of culture, which is community, family connection, shared meals, prayer, music, and storytelling. All of these are protective factors that help people heal. We do not need to let go of our culture to make progress. We just need to open it up a little. And I feel like South Asian culture is so beautiful, like the emphasis we put on community gatherings. There's so many festivals that we celebrate together, and we have cousins, extended cousins. So we have a lot of like support group ready. We just have to like take that first step of reaching out. So yeah, I think there's a big positive side of that as well, and that can act as our strength.
No, and I completely agree with you. Like having that huge community space really does give you that leverage. But like you said, yes, we just have to take that small step forward. And in so, what I would like to say is that at Helper, we believe that mental health support should blend technology with empathy, and it should meet people where they are and reflect their lived experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. Whether you are a student who's feeling lost, or a parent trying to understand your child, or someone quietly fighting through anxiety, know that you are not alone. There are people, programs, and communities ready to walk beside you.
And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone you care about. Start the conversation. Ask the question you have always been avoiding. Healing happens when you reach out, not when we hide away.
I love what you said there. Thank you so much for joining us on Feel Good with Helper. Take care of yourself, take care of one another, and remember, mental health is not a destination, it is a journey, and every step forward counts.
Yes, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.